All right, now that we have the ability to create to-do objects, it'd be really awesome to list them out. And we actually already have a URL set up for this. If we go to our URLs, we have our current, basically showing all the current to-dos for a given user. Let's just go ahead and make it so it actually shows those things. So if we go ahead and move over to our views, you can see currently for current, we don't have a lot. We're just passing back something. So we need to go and get all the to-do objects from the database. So we've done this before. This will be fairly simple. We're going to go ahead and say to-dos is equal to capital to-do. And let's make sure that we have this imported. Looks like we do not. So we're going to have to say from.models import capital to-do. And let's just make sure that's the name of our model. Yes. Okay, that's all looks good. So now we can say, all right, we want to go get the to-do objects. So we're going to say to-do.objects, and then we're going to say .all with the parentheses. Okay. So we're going to pass this into our current to-dos template. So we'll make a dictionary here, and we'll say lowercase to-dos, colon, to-dos. All right, save this. So now that we're passing that forward, let's go ahead and move into the template. So you can see we don't have a lot to work with now, but eventually what we want to do is list out all the to-dos. And I think a nice way to do that for now will just be to use an unordered list. So I'm going to go ahead and do a UL for unordered list. We'll go ahead and make an ending tag for that. And then we're going to just simply put list items in there. So you just do an LI and then an ending LI, just like that. So, we would list out a bunch, but for these, we want to use a for loop so that we can list through all the to-dos. So we're going to go ahead and just do our curly brackets with the percentage signs and say for to-do in to-dos with the S. Remember, the list of to-dos is what we're passing forward there. So we're going to go ahead and do that for loop. We've got to make sure that we end the for loop down here at the bottom. So we'll say end for. Okay, and then inside of here, this is where we want to list out the to-do information. So for example, we might say something like, we want to list out the to-do.title. All right, and in a second here, we're going to, make sure that it's important and we can actually go ahead and complete these things. But for now, let's just make sure these things can list out. So let's go ahead and move back to our site here, and let's go to our /current, and look at that. It lists out the to-dos. Now it shows that right now we are currently logged in as Nick, and we're seeing these to-dos, but if we go to our database, look at this to-do, for example. This is listed as the user for Haley. So me logged in as Nick, I should not be able to see these to-dos. And the issue that we have here is if we go back to our views, we've said go and get all the to-do objects just for anybody and list them here. Now that's not what we want. We want them for a particular user. So the question is, how do we fix that? Well, rather than just saying, to-do.objects.all, we're going to get a little bit more specific than that. So what we're going to do is to-do.objects, but instead of .all, we're going to say .filter. And then inside of this filter, you can just basically list the properties of models and set them equal to what you're looking for. So we could say, for example, where the title is equal to this, or eventually here in a second, we're going to show you, we only want the ones that are not completed yet. But in this case, we're going to say that we want the user to be equal to our request.user. Okay, so this will make sure that they only show up for the particular user that we're looking for. So now if we save this, come back to our code, reload here, look at this. Nick doesn't have any to-do objects, but if I go to the database side and I say, guess what? This to-do by cheese is now belonging to Nick, and I save this, and then I come and reload this page. Oh, look at that. Then the to-do shows up. So I'm going to go ahead and log out here and log back in as Haley so that we can see what this looks like. Got to make sure I get the password correct. And look, there's the walk the dog, which, if we go back here, now we're logged out of the admin. But basically, you can see that this now is working so that, the to-dos are only showing up for the user that had created them. This is perfect. Now, one more thing that I want to talk about here is, and let's go ahead and log back in as an admin. Okay. Oh goodness, I keep messing up with my passwords here. I want you to see that, you know, if someone has completed an object, like for example, let's say I've completed walking the dog. And let's go back to Nick's to do, which was buy cheese. Okay, so let's say I've completed it. I'll just do today's date and time. So I save this and I come and look at Nick's current stuff. Buy cheese should no longer be showing up because I've completed it. So how do we fix this? Well, we're going to go back to our view. And here we're going to add one more item. So we're going to just do a comma here. You can list out as many things as you want there. And the field that we're looking for, if we go to our model, is this date completed, which is a date time field. So it's not like a Boolean yes or no, but because we said that this can be null and blank, we can check and see if this thing is equal to null. So we can say, all right, date completed. And then to check and see if it is null, we're going to do underscore underscore is null. Okay, so this is kind of this special naming convention with Django models that if you do this underscore underscore is null, spell that correctly, then we can treat this as like a Boolean case of yes or no. So we're going to say we only want to do objects where date completed is null. So we're going to set that equal to true. So I'll save this, come back, reload this page, buy cheese is gone. But if I go ahead and go back to like buy cheese and I delete this, okay, let's go ahead and delete that time, save this. Now come back to this page and reload. Buy cheese is back. Okay. So really the last step that I have here is, I want to be able to list out to-dos, and let's go ahead and make another one here. We'll say make website. All right. I want a cool website. We'll make this one like important. There are some things that I'd like to see here. So for example, if something is important, I'd like to see it in bold. And if something has a memo, like I'd like to see a little bit of that memo there. And eventually I want to make it so that we can link to these and show where we can complete it or delete, save, update, whatever. But let's go ahead and work on making these bold if it's important and also showing just a little bit of the memo. So let's go ahead and move back to our code here. This is going to be all work inside of the template. And so the first thing that we want to do is check and see if something is bold. So the way that we can do that is simply just by doing our curly brackets with the percentage signs. And we're going to say if to-do dot important. Okay, and since it's a Boolean, we can simply just check that. So we're going to say if it's important, then we want to have a bold tag here. And we'll go ahead and end our if. So we'll do our curly brackets with the percentage signs and we say end if. And we're going to grab this code and do essentially the same thing on the other side of the to-do, but this one will be the ending bold tag. So let's go ahead and save this. Come back to our code, reload, and look at that. Make website was important, so it's nice and bolded. That's great. The next thing that we just need is a little bit of text from the memo if there is a memo. So we're going to come back here to Atom. And we're going to say, with this list item, after we have done all the bolding and all that good stuff, what we're going to do is we're just going to say space, and then, we really should do a good if statement here, because we could go ahead and do like a dash and then show the stuff from the to-do, but for example, if they don't have a memo, there's just going to be this ending dash on the end there that is kind of weird. So again, we're going to do another if statement here, so we're going to say curly brackets with the percentage signs. I'm going to say if to-do dot memo. Okay, we'll go ahead and do the ending here. So we'll say end if, get the percentage sign. Great. And then inside of here, we can say like space, dash, and then list out the memo. So we'll say to-do dot memo. Okay, add some spaces there. We'll go ahead and save this. Now, if we go ahead and reload that, you can see it shows it. Now, eventually, we're going to want to make it so that it only shows a little bit of that. We can worry about that later when really pretty up the site, like, for example, only show like the first 10 characters or whatever it is that we want to do. But for the time being, this is pretty good. Now, one thing that I would like to address is that this line of code has gotten like way too long. So I really recommend if you have like lots of if statements like this, like try and break it down. So for example, I'm going to do a return here, and then a return on the list item so that those are on the same line. Then I'm going to go ahead and have the if statement for the bold and the title. Like a lot of that I think could be one line. And then I'm just going to make this a separate line that has this dash. Now, the way that HTML works, this will not actually have a return in it. Like even though these are now on separate lines, if we come back and reload this page, you can see it's the exact same, but this is a whole lot easier for us to read. It's like, okay, there's the title and here's the memo stuff if they're going to do that. Okay, so that's all that I've got for you in this one. We're really making progress here, right? We've created a to-do, we've listed it out. What's next? We got to be able to look at it.